how do you treat people like who are kind of like I said, like if you go to a club and stuff like that and you're headlining, how do you treat the staff? How do you treat the cooks and stuff like that? Like, I'm very judgmental of those type of things because it's more like because we've hung out with people where it's just like they treat people like shit. Anyway, too. Like I literally have had gone on dates with a girl one time, and she just treated the waitress like shit, and then after we were done, like complete like just called her a bitch, like the Constant's over here and everything, and then afterwards, I get up. I go to the I get up. I tell the girl that I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I get up and I go to the kitchen and I see the server and I say like, here's the money for the bill. Here's that $20 extra.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Don't. By the way, I'm just gonna take off.
Yeah.
If she and just leave her there. And if she said and don't serve that table anymore. And it's already done. I already paid for everything. All right, cool. And then I get in my car and then I got rid of the burner phone and I fucking never talked to that bitch ever again.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot too. Like what I notice is it's usually people who come from money and wealth and are entitled. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you know, growing up. Like, it's funny, I joke about stuff all the time, but, like, I grew up really, really poor with a single mom. You know what I mean? So, like, but I still experienced tons of privilege because of my paint job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's interesting what I get to see. Mm-hmm. And I think all of us in our own ways get to experience the privilege we get from our paint job and our age or our economic situation, but then we get to see all the backlash too. You know, like one of the examples I give is, you know, my mom was a drug addict. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And she's also Irish Catholic and sent me a boy coming from no money, but with a Jewish last name to an all-Italian Catholic school. And in the 1970s, like there was extreme prejudice that, you know, I experienced as a result of that. Instead of being bitter about it, what I found was I was really empathetic. Mm-hmm. In one particular situation, I know this has nothing to do with regrets, but I remember hanging out on the boardwalk in Atlantic City on an Easter Sunday because you get all dressed up and you go do that whole fucking thing and the piers and the rides. And there was this group of kids, and they were tearing into this kid. And I started listening to what they were saying, and this is where I realized that it's no pun intended, it's not all black or white. Because this kid was so dark-skinned, they were fucking tearing into him. Yeah. And I didn't know that existed until I was able, as a fly on a wall, to see it, and then realize I'm like that kid too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like I got all these benefits of my paint job or that go with it, but at the same time, I'm at the bottom of that totem pole too. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was watching this kid and I was going, you know what? Me and him are really fucked too because we're the ones that got to fight each other. Because me and him now have to go toe to toe because we want our crew to fucking respect us, and the only way to do that is to fight each other. And for me, that was a profound change in how I viewed the world and how power struggles work, how people treat each other. And I mean, and it breaks down to even working a service industry job when somebody comes in and they're like, I'm not gonna fucking tip, you know, or this and that, or, you know, I want to talk to a manager and all this shit. And all of us, you know, like, I don't think any of us come from a lot of money. I know you don't. I know I don't. I don't either. I mean, I don't know. Were you? Wait. And if you do, I don't want to hold it against you.
I'm part of we did the immigrant story. My parents showed up with a couple hundred. They're real well off now, I'll give you that. Yeah. But yeah, we started with nothing. We lived in like motels for a second because we couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
When you were talking about they were laying to it, was it black kids laying to another black kid?
It was a really dark-skinned black kid, and the way they were fucking tearing into him.
Who were tearing into him?
Lighter-skinned black dudes.
That's typical. I see.
And it was so like, I mean, I didn't know that existed, but then I learned about things like red bone and, you know, all these different things that, like, because I grew, you know, I grew up learning my cultural shit. You know, I grew up learning about, like, well, I'm Irish, I learned how to drink. I don't know. You know what I mean? You just learn what you learn from the environment you're raised in. So, like, that to me was just amazing. Like, you know.
When you said it, that's why I was assuming what it was, because it's been like that, like, forever. And I always wanted that in the other cultures as well. So we're, like, super diverse on this podcast today. that's typical within the black community. I think it comes from a history of like obviously being here, being slaves, and a history behind it as far as like there used to be a thing. I think this still happened in Jamaica, where they were like bleaching their skin.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's happening everywhere. There are Indian commercials. Can I tell you about this commercial?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so it starts with this Indian couple in India, because they're Indian.
What a setup, man.
The husband
You gotta wear this as in English. All right.
The husband wakes up and he looks at this really, like this black coffee, and he's like, and then his wife comes out and he's like, and he looks back at it and he's more disgusted at the black coffee. And then they have this cream that's like, ladies, you're too dark. Put this cream under your paw and become lighter. And then the next scene is him looking at like creamy coffee, and his wife comes out and he's like, yeah, glug glug. And I'm like, that's so gross.
Could that be like a partnership with like what is that, Coffee Mate?
It's like, yeah, it's like yeah, they're like, it's
with a
like
white woman in your cup.
But
well,
if
you know,
you have any sort of pigmentation in a culture,
Yeah.
they want to simmer it down because Europe fucking took over everything.
Yeah.
Except when you look at me, who's actually trying to get a little tan, but you don't figure that shit out. It's like, I want to be darker skinned.
Yeah, like in Brazil, actually, like they kind of encourage commingling in a way too, with between whites and blacks, stuff like that. That's why everybody in Brazil has kind of looks like this
brownish
color.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful color.
And they're right,
100%.
and they're fucking good looking. There is something to that, I think. I mean, it is. I mean, I think that's nature's way of saying we're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
And hotness is anti-racist.
Hotness is anti-racist. Well, first of all, okay, the greatest ability you could be is hot. That is like, what if you're hot? That like trumps over a lot of things. Like if I had one regret of not, if I could go back in time and talk to like 15-year-old Omar, it would be like, Omar, put down the books, put down the controllers, start lifting weights, and just start working on your ass. There's a thing called deadlifting that will pop your butt out like crazy, and people will love you. Welcome to the All Regerts podcast, a podcast about regrets with Omar Gonzalez and Sam Narani. With this week's guest, Paul Wiener and Casey Stewart.
That is really sad but true.
So mine was like, there's this chick, my friend, no, it was my junior year of college, right? So it's like bad, like baddie, like fine. But me, I was like, oh, I'm a Christian kid. I'm gonna do everything right. And then like she was like throwing herself at me, and I'm like, and this is how fine. She's like, she's Instagram model fine. I know she is because she's literally an Instagram model now. And the thing is, it's like that mindset of what you're saying. It's like mine's more of like, maybe this is more of looking back in the past of I regret not fucking that person. I regret that in a sense, because then the person I ended up losing my virginity to, like a few months later, I was like, oh yeah, you're a 4. But not to sound like a douche or anything, but in the same sense, it was like, but I am. But no, in the same sense of what it was, it's like the thing of sexuality as far as like repressed sexuality from religious backgrounds, like growing up like in a small conservative town and everything like that. That's something I regret. Like if I have kids, I'm like, look, go out, do your thing, but be smart about it. It's that simple. I don't think like I was not coached up on that. Now a lot of friends are like, man, fuck, don't give a fuck. We just do what we want.
Right.
But me, I stay within that realm. So you're saying that sense, that would be one of my regrets. Was like the douchebag part of it is just like grading women and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the same sense of it is, as far as sexuality, exploring your sexuality, exploring everything's a part of life. As far as like not repressing so much on ideas of like what it should be instead of what it is. I think that's like a lot of things I ran into growing up as a kid. It's like even going, I thought college was this big thing. Like, oh, college opens doors. I'm like, no, it's not. It's an avenue. It can get you to places, but it's not the thing. So I think one of the biggest things, like I would say I would regret, an all-encompassing thing, is taking things. Maybe I did. I guess taking things for face value. Maybe I took that for face value as a kid. That seemed very like naive, but that's what it was. As a kid, I'm just like, growing up, not with a lot of money. My dad was a drug addict. It's just kind of like, I have to do this shit. Like I don't have a backup plan. Right. So it was like no, explore life a little bit, but explore it under control with some common sense. So
that's a very intellectual way of being of just saying I regret not fucking this girl.
Yeah. I tried to clean it up as best I could. I wanted to clean it up.
Casey, I'm gonna tell you right now. Eventually, when you have sex, it's gonna start feeling pretty good for you. When you start having sex, it's gonna be awesome.
See, that was the start.
That's cool.
I don't think he's a virgin anymore.
Excuse me, sir. I saw American Pie. I am not a virgin anymore.
That's all I need.
I'm totally behind you on that, and I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Sexuality and how to just live your life.
Yeah.
I think that's something we're supposed to figure out on our own, because the people that are teaching you how to live a certain way, they come from a completely different background, a completely different set of what was important to them and not, 20-year-olds now are like, fuck bras, and when I was in my early 20s, everybody's like, you gotta wear white bras.
Yeah.
Or you're fucked. And I'm like, oh my god, what amazing power. But it's like a different generation with different ideals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sexuality and stuff like that is a journey you're supposed to make on your own, but it's hard because if you're shackled down with
you're fed the wrong
religion and all that,
What you're saying is that not like a recycle? That's another thing that I see a lot with the society. I used to have this argument with this girl I went to college. I actually worked with her after college. Excuse me.
Was it the Instagram model?
No.
How many followers? That's why I'm gonna judge her basically.
Before this podcast is over, we will be giving out her IG too, so we can all look at her
and judge.
It's called research, right? That's what we do. We research on this podcast.
She's at 50K now.
50K?
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, what's her IG?
I'm not gonna give it. I'll let y'all see.
Casey has phone out. I just need to say that. How long ago did you have this opportunity that you blew?
Oh, this is a minute. I was 20. I'm 28 now.
Casey,
and you're still fucking following her, girl?
No, I just followed just because, people like, hey guys, I could have,
that's true.
50K right now.
So Casey's 28. How old are you, Omar?
I'm 35.
30, and you're
34.
34. So Casey's the youngest and the same age as my oldest child.
Damn. They should be friends.
Have you had the talk with your oldest child?
She got 2 kids.
Well,
obviously, I didn't.
Okay, I was gonna say, he's starting to do it now.
Schedule for her birthday.
Oh, damn. That's actually I think I followed this chick.
In my defense, she was dumb as rocks, bro. And that was not the smart.
You know what? I'm always amazed.
Which brings up a very good thing that people. It's not. A lot of people talk about different ways to identify, and people identify as pansexual, sapiosexual, and all that. And I'll tell you, when it comes to looks and intelligence, wow, you know what she?
We all have regrets.
I would not have to have an emotional or intellectual connection.
Oh, the bathroom's right there. Casey, put the towels on the bottom.
Casey, just leave your phone in the bathroom.
Yeah, leave your phone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
No, but this is. I'll be honest about it. I have been with really beautiful women that I have not been able to be aroused with because there's no emotional connection.
Oh, 100%.
And it's funny though because when I was younger, I didn't know what it was. Yeah. I really thought oh shit, my dick's broke. You know what I mean? But what I realized is no, my dick's actually working really well. This isn't what is it? Not incontinence. What that shit? That's when you shit yourself. No, what's the ED? It's not erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's that. You know what I mean? It's my brain and body and my heart knows what it wants. And when I'm attracted to someone physically, emotionally, and there's a spiritual connection, not to be sound, but the dick gets hard. You know what I mean? And it's and I know
there's a Holy Ghost in your pants.
That's not unique to me either. Just a lot of us, we're talking about not having not knowing how we're raised by people that give us this fucked up information. Nobody talks about that shit when you're a kid.
Oh, it's so embarrassing to talk about.
Oh, I embarrassed the fuck out of my kids. I asked my son the other day when he asked me what age I was when I hit puberty, and I was like, he's 13, and I was like, yeah, I guess it was around 12, 13. I said, and he's like, well, how do you know when you're done? And I just looked at him, I go, when you can ejaculate, you've probably pretty much hit the spot. Yeah. And I didn't realize, man, he was like, oh, fuck that. Did you really just talk about ejaculation? Because when you're 13, being that intimate with your kid and sincere is really fucking uncomfortable, but at the same time, I'm glad I do it.
It is important.
Because it's like somebody's got to tell them. You know what I mean?
And it makes it less scary. I mean, your very first time, no matter how informed you are, I feel like it's going to be scary no matter what. It's a weird thing.
Well, I don't know. Let's who wants to talk about their first
I played
time?
the Mario thing. How do you feel about that?
A joystick?
Yeah. Like, you remember those PC games that were like... They had the joystick and you were like a pilot or whatever. And the first time,
so you landed the plane successfully?
Yeah, just kind of took off.
I was just like, what am I?
Did you have a landing strip at the time when it was going on?
Sorry.
I think I did the Mario song and I was like, wop, 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 wop. He was going under in the little tunnel.
So it's the first time you like had an orgasm?
No, that was just the first time I had sex because I was like, what is this? What is this?
Wait, I'm confused. Were you masturbating or were you with somebody?
I was with somebody.
I thought you used the joystick.
Yeah, I thought you were masturbating.
No, sorry.
The whole fantasy now has to shift. Let me rewind to my pervert.
Alright. Think of a chubby guy. Chubby guy.
I'm looking at one side.
Fuck off! You son of a bitch!
Sorry.
Flopping in the wind and I'm like,
yeah.
Wow.
Is this working? Alright. How do you...
Oh, so that was okay. Because I was thinking more.
I came at it more mechanically.
Yeah.
So
you made your first. I was thinking more first time where you discovered your body.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yourself on your
own. Too.
Oh.
I guess I was both, but I thought the story was about masturbation.
Yeah, once you said the joystick comparison, I thought it was about masturbation too. I was like, what?
Yeah,
okay.
Damn. I thought you guys were like right there with me. Like I was here, you guys were hovering around him, just joysticking it.
First of all, that makes it so creepy.
I felt support.
Fair, you got a point there.
I think it's funny the things, the inanimate objects or names and different things that we give to our body parts, and some are totally like people are like, oh, you can't say that, and other things are like, that's really cute actually. I think the joystick thing's kind of cute because it's it's a game, it's a toy. We get really into it. You know what I mean? And then like we won't do anything with it for a while either. It's like I'm done.
All right. I'm
trying to write bits.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna wait for the next gen.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that is the thing. That is the weird thing too. Now I'm starting to look back at like things when I was like 12. And I was just grabbing it, and I'm like, oh, there's no purpose to this. I can just grab my dick whenever I feel like it. Because we did it all the time in football practice. Like, you're just hanging out with a bunch of guys, you're just grabbing your cock constantly.
That was not
so I'm the only one.
What football team were you on?
We're tearing up for a reason, right, guys? 3 years undefeated.
Cocks out. It depends on what age. Like once you get, once your balls drop, like that's uncomfortable. You're moving your junk. But I thought you like. When we were talking about Pop Warner and then like middle school and stuff like that.
I've seen a couple kids adjusting Pop Warner. Don't ask me why or how. But
I didn't in Pop Warner. I was like 9, 8. I don't think I was even thinking about that much.
But people like grow into that like at different ages.
Yeah.
They're little babies that like fucking touch themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's weird.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, all right, whatever.
Oh yeah, infants get erections. I mean, I changed a lot of fucking diapers, man. Had that shit fucking fire hose. You gotta get a clean diaper and hold that shit down, man.
It's not a sexual erection.
Not at all. No.
But I think we're on sex. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? We're on sexual erection.
It's like a compass, just showing you which direction you have to go to.
I'm like, bro, chill out. We're on
baby formula's over here, Dad.
Well, that's just like touching it. Sometimes isn't a sexual thing, you know. I mean, sometimes you just.
This
going on? Yeah,
just a normal part of your body.
Why is it thinking for me?
Yes.
I think we already covered that.
That's another conversation. I think more as a parent is very important to have with me, with my sons, especially about how to respond appropriately. And like I'm really grateful that I moved to San Francisco at a young age, and I always say I was raised by lesbians because I lived with 4 lesbians. And got really close, and this one woman sat me down one day, and we were just talking, and I don't want to say I was a slut, but I was a slut, and I had sex with a lot of people. And when it came to like men, it was definitely a different experience than with women. And I didn't understand certain things about women. And one thing she told me, and this stuck with me, and it's how I raised my sons, is when you're with a woman and you sense hesitation, no matter how it comes in, like, I don't know if I want to go this far, or just straight up no, or even it's like you just feel a physical kind of like a slowdown, you honor that shit. Because the difference between men and women is like we can have sex and it's a lot less consequential, and it's a lot less we don't have to be as vulnerable.
The physical act of not being inserted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I'll never have that experience. So when but not as a woman. I'll never have that experience. Like there's no risk of pregnancy if somebody's inside me.
Right. Yeah, but it's not just the pregnancy. It's just the entire vulnerability of somebody else being inside of you, whether up top or down low.
So like learning that though, and having that completely changed. Like at a, I was still pretty young. I was only about 22 when this was instilled in me. So I was at a good age. But now I've been able to pass that on to my sons, which I think is really cool, because I'd love to like that. That's something that for me has been a very powerful experience, and it's also helped me tremendously, like in relationships now, because it's like now I look at women in such a different way, and it's almost like I got this little bit of insight that someone was so kind to give to me, because just for her to give me that information was a huge risk of being vulnerable. Right. Because to hear that and then think like, oh my God, how many times may I have made somebody uncomfortable, prior to this, or was a girlfriend having sex with me because she was afraid she was going to lose me, even though like she wasn't really ready, all these pressures that I never knew existed.
Do you ever I'm thinking about it in her perspective, and I'm not sure if this ever happened to you. Have you ever been vulnerable with somebody and they don't accept it? Oh, and it's just 100%. Like once you spill your guts out, you immediately kind of regret ever doing it, because it either changes the dynamics of the relationship, or you just straight up just reject. No, we love you, Paul. Look, man, we accept you with all your flaws and everything. We accept Casey just pointing at the mic as a form of communication. We accept a lot of things. So.
I'm pointing because I agree with certain things, and I want him to keep flowing. All right, what he said was great. I got a cliff note because I want to add to that, because I don't want to just be like, hey, I see you having this great poetic idea that's really contributed to the podcast.
And he just gives a head nod. It's like, that's how you kind of.
But no, in all seriousness, like what you're saying, I think that is very important, because having those awkward conversations are way more important, because when you boil it all down, going back to the thing, you're gonna die at some age. We're still just human. And without having these conversations, I remember I said this one time. I was at Fallout. Fallout, and I was hanging out. There was a couple comics. I remember one comic's face. I'm not gonna drop their name, but I remember I was talking about that, and I remember when I said something like, it's the stand-up. I like having those deeper conversations on stage. You still gotta be funny. Like,
absolutely.
You're choosing to have your outlet to be funny. Like if you want to do a TED Talk, do a TED Talk. But you're choosing to do comedy, so you need to be funny first. With that being said, I really dive into these type of conversations because you actually grow and progress from them, and they actually, like you're saying, you can teach somebody something that they wouldn't have known that can better move the world forward. Like what you're saying is, as far as like the vulnerability with women and engaging that and having that conversation with somebody, as compared to just like washing it over and handing it off to like your public school or whoever the hell it is, and not diving into that stuff. But some people get so uncomfortable, but you got to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because of the simple fact that's how we grow and progress.
Your socials?
Yeah.
We're on there. What?
You do not want my social media.
No, we don't want your social security. Thank you. Go ahead.
Y'all, mine's been somewhat dropped. CaseyIsTrying.com. Casey is trying everything, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Casey.
Yeah, you can IG me at Paul Wiener Punk Rock Comedy.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And that's it. Go home.
Thank you for listening to the All Regerts podcast with Sam Narani and Omar Gonzalez. Remember this, just because you have regrets doesn't mean you can't live life. as if you have no regrets. Have a wonderful day.